Robert Pattinson was very honest about how uncomfortable he was to be, in his words, kind of representing something you don't particularly like, and Anna Kendrick compared the filming process to a hostage situation. No matter what your thoughts are on Twilight, you couldn't possibly hate it more than its cast did. These are Twilight actors who despised working on the movies. Robert Pattinson thought the story was ridiculous from the start.
Like, what am I doing with this kid? I'm 108 years old.
He complained that
I hardly get to do any vampire stuff.
And by that, he meant,
I don't get to kill anyone.
After talking to Stephanie Meyer, Robert thought that she was in love with her own fictional creation.
It's like, this woman is mad.
He didn't think all too highly of Twilight fans either, calling them people who sit in front of their computers and comment on anything to do with Twilight. At least Robert thought of the fans when he was asked if the end of Twilight was bittersweet.
For them!
It could have been worse, Robert. At least he didn't have Taylor Lautner's experience with fans. Robert said that if he wasn't in the movies, he would just mindlessly hate Twilight. Rob also complained that his contacts were so uncomfortable.
My entire performance is based on having extreme discomfort having contact lenses in your eyes.
And considering how long it took him to respond when asked about the cast member who made his Twilight experience the most special before he finally said,
SK2 face packs.
We're guessing that he had a sorta hard time making friends on set too. You probably know Taylor Lautner best for one thing.
Doesn't he own a shirt?
Those rock-hard abs may have been the thing that launched Taylor into stardom, but at the same time, the poor actor didn't appreciate the fact that he was always the only person with his shirt off. He wished that everyone could do it once because it would make me feel more comfortable. Taylor also complained about the horrendous weather conditions, explaining that in the books it's always supposed to be cold and gloomy and the sun can never be out, so that's not fun. And Anna Kendrick can relate, but more on that later. For now, that wasn't the only part of Taylor's costume that caused him problems. He hated the wig he had to wear in the first movie. It did not like me. I did not like it. Not fond memories. But worst of all, Taylor was a little freaked out by some of the franchise's more passionate fans. He even remembers one 40-year-old woman who started taking off her pants the moment she saw him so that he could autograph them. How would you feel faced with something like that? Taylor wasn't the only one struggling with the weather, as we've mentioned. Can you guess what Anna Kendrick remembers best?
And I just remember my Converse being completely soaked through.
She was stuck in the rain for so long that it really started to get to her.
And I just remember being so cold and miserable.
She didn't actually have anything against any member of the cast.
This is a really great group of people, and I'm sure that we would be friends in a different time.
But how easy do you think it would be to make friends under the circumstances?
But I want to murder everyone.
But if you want to be one of our friends, we'd recommend hitting that subscribe button now. But going back to Anna for a bit, she especially took issue with Kristen Stewart, saying that Kristen made a valiant effort to be friendly, but I could tell she was putting her back into it. But considering Kristen was having a miserable time on set too, we can probably forgive her for that. And even Anna felt that there was something bonding about the whole thing.
Like you go through like some trauma event, like you imagine like people who survive like a hostage situation.
Kristen had a hard time taking some of the movies seriously. Especially in Breaking Dawn Part 2 when Bella first becomes a vampire and just instantly forgets about her newborn daughter.
Kind of ignore their duties instantly, they just want to bone.
But end of day, Kristen was a huge fan of the books. She actually cried when she saw Bella's wedding scene come to life, exactly how she'd read it.
You ready?
But the role brought about a huge lifestyle shift for her, and it also came along with a whole lot of other baggage that she wasn't ready to deal with. Kristen had only just left high school when she'd been cast in the part of Bella, and looking back, she felt like she was far too young to be able to handle the kind of fame that was thrust upon her all of a sudden. When it started out, Twilight was something I really invested in, but the more she came to see how it mattered to so many people, something personal became not the most personal thing. It sounds like Kristen could have used a mother on set, like Elizabeth Reaser. Elizabeth was perfect for Esme. It was her job to play the mother of the Cullen family.
Esme just loves everyone. She can't help herself.
And Elizabeth took that role above and beyond by taking a certain wolf cub under her wing as well. You Remember what we said about Taylor Lautner being a little uncomfortable when it comes to overly passionate fans? Well, he wasn't the only one who had to deal with it. Elizabeth said that Taylor was just 16 and still a boy when much older ladies would be asking me about his body. She felt that these questions were just really inappropriate, and we wondered just what made these women think that it would be okay to ask these things of the mother vampire herself. You have to think they would have considered that first. Still, even though Elizabeth has been trying to distance herself from the movies, she said, "I think the success of the saga is the books. The books are just beautiful, amazing, great storytelling, and Stephanie is a great writer," which is a lot more sentimental than Nikki Reed was feeling by the end. Now, Nikki was glad to move on from Twilight. She didn't feel particularly sentimental when the series came to its end, saying, "I feel like we're all sorta ready to graduate middle school and move on to whatever the next chapter is." But Nikki didn't think it was all bad. She said that in the beginning it was innocent and fun and we were like one big happy family. So what changed? Fame, of course. Nikki felt that success came along and changed everything, which was something her on-screen boyfriend, Kellan Lutz, saw happening too. Nikki had grown close with Kristen while filming for the first movie and thanked her for her support through their rise to fame, saying if it weren't for Kristen, this would have been a lot more overwhelming. But it was clear that something had changed as time went on. Even Kristen felt someone on set had told the other actors, if you don't have a reason to talk to them, don't just go up to them, which she felt was really annoying. But whatever friction there was between the two, all's forgiven now. Nikki Reed still calls Kristen a dear buddy. Kellan Lutz just didn't get Twilight from the start. He was very straightforward about the fact that he didn't like the script. The way that he saw it, how scary would a glimmering vampire really be? It just doesn't make sense. Ouch! Although we imagine that being confused by everything going on around him went a long way towards helping Kellan channel Emmett's famous himbo energy.
Dating an older woman? Huh?
You can see why Kellan saw himself as a bit of a jock on set, going on to explain that it was hard for everyone in the cast to get along because
it's like pulling one person from every clique in high school.
He said that the artsy kids sort of kept to themselves because they were just so shy, but Kellan was able to make a couple of friends while they were working on the first movie. He looks back on this early period fondly.
Just because everyone was so just themselves.
He used to go out to different bars and concerts alongside Jackson Rathbone and Peter Facinelli, but that obviously had to stop once the fame got to them, an issue Ashley Greene knows well. Ashley Greene feels like Twilight has ruined me. She came from being pretty much anonymous to super famous basically overnight, or as she put it, it was a hard adjustment going from 0 to 100 in a day. And fame definitely came with its downsides. Ashley was essentially ripped apart by the fanbase, who felt that at 5'5", she was far too tall to play the tiny Alice, who's described as being 4'10" in the books. Ashley thought these complaints were just ridiculous. I'm much, much taller than Alice is described. But who's 4'10" anyways? Yeah, that's a good point, Ashley. It's very clear to us by now that she's just done with the series. If you're wondering about Ashley's thoughts on seeing somebody else take on the role of Alice, she said, it's someone else's turn. She's moved on to other projects by now, although she'll still revisit those memories on her podcast, The Twilight Effect. She even brought Nikki Reed on for an episode, and the two of them discussed how there was a lot of ups and downs and some drama, and we were like a family, but also in our 20s, and so there was kind of tiffs here and there. Whether they hated the story, or they found themselves caught up in the on-set drama that was reminiscent of middle school, this cast definitely had their reasons to be skeptical. Which one of these actors' comments were you most surprised to hear? We'd love to hear what you think, so make sure to let us know down in the comment section.